Oh, hello and welcome to What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I am him, and today I am here to talk to you guys about a very important debate that's going on in the social medias. Trey McBride versus Sam LaPorta. Who's going to have a better career going forward? I was just innocently scrolling through X the other day, and I saw some tight end Dynasty rankings that really did surprise me. Now, I'm going to pull a couple of them up here for y'all to see. Here is the first one. And, this is like a kind of like a doofus thing. So Trey McBride, TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Sam LaPorta all the way below Brock Bowers, who has not played an NFL snap yet. And don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Brock. I think he's going to be really, really good. I'm excited to see what he does in the NFL. But putting him ahead of Sam LaPorta, who's having a historic season, is a little bit of a stretch for me, in my opinion. This sort of stuff I see, and I'm like, okay, let's bookmark this. Let's do a video about it maybe in the future. But let's instantly mute this Twitter account, because that's a pretty wild take to have. But I also saw somebody who I do actually really respect in Dynasty Fantasy Football Twitter, Rich Dynasty Island. He has Trey McBride and Sam LaPorta in the top tier of Dynasty tight ends. You can see the rest of the list underneath. And he has Trey McBride one step above Sam LaPorta. And I was like, this guy, I actually do kind of follow him and believe in a lot of the things that he says. So I was like, let me take a closer look. Let me ask him what's going on. If you guys don't know, Dynasty football, you keep the same roster. I'm assuming most people who are watching this are going to be Dynasty managers. Some people might not. It is basically predicting what their future is going to be in the NFL if you're just watching it for the sake of the argument. Sorry about the white screen, by the way. I didn't turn it to dark mode. My apologies. I'll try and save your eyes here in a second. So basically, I was like, hey, Rich, you're trolling, right? And he was like, no. And this is which I really do appreciate, by the way. Again, I don't want this to be a shot on Rich, because I do respect a lot of the things that he puts on the X. He said, better yard per route run, better target per route run, a more stable QB and OC situation, offensive coordinator, and the exact same points per game since week 6 when Trey McBride took over for Zach Ertz. Also, Sam LaPorta has been very touchdown lucky, which could regress next season. Okay, so that's a pretty fair statement to say. So here is my rebuttal to it. And here you guys are going to very quickly find out what my opinion on the situation is. Okay, so the QB situation part of the tweet. In Detroit, of course, we have Goff or Hendon Hooker. I do not think that Goff is going anywhere unless in 2 years from now we see like a Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith situation where Hendon Hooker is just like a secret that Detroit has, of course, coming off of an injury. Looked great in college. They spent a third-round draft pick on him, so he could pan out and be a fabulous quarterback for him in the future. My point is the QB situation, in my opinion, in Detroit is very stable. I think Goff is the guy going forward. And they got 11 wins. They might win the NFC. They might have the 1 seed in the NFC when this season's all said and done. And worst case scenario, we get Hendon Hooker coming off of a little bit of an injury in college and him just being a super duper stud versus Kyler Murray. Okay. Kyler Murray has not been good this season coming off of his injury. You could argue that maybe he's injury prone. I'm not going to go there, but coming off of this injury this season, Kyler is averaging 217 yards passing per game, which is, of course, important when we're just talking about his targets here. Jared Goff, by the way, is averaging 265, which is one of like the top 5 qualifying quarterbacks in the league right now. So he is no slouch in passing yardage. Okay. The offensive coordinator situation. Now, this is the most fair, I thought. I was like, yep, that's definitely fair. Everyone knows Lions offensive coordinator is out next season. They're going to have to fill in with somebody else because he will be a head coach somewhere else. But if you think about it for 35 seconds, you think about who's the head coach, who's the next man up. That's, of course, Motor City Dan Campbell, NCDC for the Detroit Lions. And you're going to go ahead and check your notes, and you're going to realize, oh, yeah, That guy played tight end in the NFL. He's pretty good at it too. That's why he got the position. He is an offensive-minded head coach. So, of course, when you have an offensive coordinator leave, that's never a good thing. But I think a lot of that is going to be mitigated by the fact that Motor City Dan Campbell is in charge. A lot of people might think he's an absolute doofus. I disagree, and I think when he's probably going to win, either him or Coach Stefanski is going to win the head coach of the year when it's all said and done. On the other hand, Arizona, new head coach there. They have 3 wins so far this season. I'm recording going into week 17 of the season. Is that a stable offensive coordinating position? And is that good, right? Their offense does not look great this season. Obviously, when you have your starting franchise quarterback injured to start the season, that'll also hamper things. But is that like a good thing? He's come back. Kyler hasn't looked good. Why is the offensive coordinator situation in Arizona so much better for the future dynasty fantasy football wise than what's going on in Detroit when your head coach is literally a retired NFL tight end for the Lions, by the way? Going down to his target per route run and yards per route run. Now, first of all, this is an interesting metric it's a stat. It's a real stat, not a made-up metric that I've looked into a lot this offseason. I've been burned by it pretty bad because all offseason, a lot of nerds were posting charts on the X and Twitter at the time, right? And right at the tippy top of all those charts was Christian Watson in yards per route run, which really, really elevated his draft stock all the way up to the third round in most drafts in fantasy football. He has not performed. Granted, he had an injury to start the season, but even when he has come back, he hasn't looked at all impressive outside maybe of a couple of games. Yards per route run, targets per route run. Who else are they supposed to throw the ball to in Arizona, right? They don't have a lot of time, and we'll get to it in a second. But in Detroit, Jahmyr Gibbs has taken a lot of the checkdowns opportunities away from Sam LaPorta. And Amon-Ra down the field is taking a lot of the competition away. And there's virtually no competition, with all due respect to everybody on that team. Like, they have a lot of good young guys. They have a couple of veterans that I've never been a big fan of, but a lot of people are high on. The target competition in Detroit is far exceeding the target competition in Arizona at the moment, which brings me to my next point. Trey McBride, in the tweet, he even said since week 6, since Trey McBride took over, he kind of made it sound like it was a little bit sneaky out of him, with all due respect, a little bit sneaky out of him for Zach when Trey McBride took over. He took over for Ertz when Ertz got put on IR, okay? He didn't earn the starting role like Sam LaPorta did as a rookie tight end, which is virtually unheard of. We've seen a lot of really good tight ends, even in this draft class, that have taken a few weeks to kind of take over. Day one of camp, they saw this guy run one route, basically, and they're like, yep, that's our guy, and he can block too, turns out. Coming out of Iowa, he was taught how to play tight end extremely well there. So McBride kind of inherited the situation where Sam LaPorta earned it as a rookie, okay? So if Ertz doesn't go down, we're not even talking about McBride right now as a top tight end in the league, because he did get snaps. He got snaps when he played like 30% of snaps, 40% of snaps in the first 6 weeks of the season. Ertz goes down, then he gets elevated to that starting position, next man up style, not necessarily earning it, taking the position away from the veteran in Zach Ertz. Now we're going to go to the history side of things. I'm a real big history guy when it comes to the NFL because I think history is a better predictor of future performance than basically like stats are, especially in a short sample size like we're seeing with McBride potentially here. We did a whole video on this channel, or I did a whole video on this channel earlier, basically looking into rookie tight end performances and asking the question, is Sam LaPorta having the best rookie tight end performance of all time? The answer is no. He's probably having either the third or the second best rookie tight end performance of all time, behind Mike Ditka in the 60s, okay? Go check out that video. There's some pretty interesting stats, and definitely go look up some old Mike Ditka highlights because it's pretty hilarious how he was playing football back in the 60s. But all that to say that Ditka is a Hall of Famer, okay? As a player, not as a coach, right? I would like to think that Sam LaPorta will be a Hall of Famer one day, but it definitely helps when you have the next best rookie tight end performance of all time in the NFL since the 60s, early 60s at that matter. I think it was 61 was Ditka's rookie year. And it's just like, it's not by accident, okay? The Lions did draft him with an early second-round pick, but he wasn't a first-rounder. He didn't come into the organization as the anointed one. He grabbed a hold of it, earned it, and now he's performing like the best rookie tight end most of us who are watching this video have ever seen. Everyone who's watching this video has ever seen in their lifetimes, okay? I am a big eye test guy, okay? I don't know if you can tell, I'm a big history guy. I'm a big eye test guy. So I popped on the film for McBride and I popped on the film for LaPorta in preparation to make this video. And what I saw from McBride's highlights and McBride's film, there's some guys that'll put together every single target to every single game. I should probably shout them out. Maybe I'll leave the links there for you in the comment section. I saw a lot of checkdowns for McBride. Again, checkdowns that LaPorta is not enjoying as much of. Of course, LaPorta has gotten screen passes designed for him in the past, but Gibbs is the checkdown guy typically in Detroit, and McBride is the checkdown guy. So, of course, that'll elevate, especially short sample size, small sample size, that'll elevate your yards per route run, and it'll definitely elevate your targets per route run. A couple of things I did notice. McBride's, so a lot of this video is going to sound like me trashing McBride, and I'm sorry for that, but I'm just like, we're talking about who's number one here. Okay, so I'm not saying McBride's like, going to be a total bust next season, but I'm just saying like maybe we pump our brakes on anointing him the number one tight end in Dynasty football right now. McBride has great hands. He's got really, really good hands. He's really reliable, and he's got great awareness. He's got a really good relationship with Kyler Murray. Obviously, Kyler knows where to go to him in the check down situations, and McBride does a really good job of finding the zone, the hole in the zone to sit down in and catch balls deeper downfield from Kyler Murray. But from an athletic standpoint, in my opinion, in my eyes' opinion, Sam LaPorta is clearly a better athlete. We'll talk about balance on contact. Sam LaPorta is so much more difficult to take down than McBride. And to that point, sure, Sam LaPorta has had some pretty good, touchdown luck. We've seen a lot of touchdown luck candidates kind of regress from year to year and catch fewer touchdowns the next year. But we've also seen that be a sticky stat for a few people. And I think the contact balance where he creates his own scoring opportunities for him because he is so tough to take down. Sam LaPorta is. Trey McBride is not much of a yard after catch guy. You'll find, some arm tackles that he'll run through, but nothing like you're seeing out of Sam LaPorta where he's spinning, keeping balance and keeping the ball moving. LaPorta is much more fast and explosive as an athlete. There were, and I don't mean to disparage McBride too much here, but there was a couple high balls I saw him go up and catch where his feet are like 6 inches off the ground, where Sam LaPorta would be skying up for that ball and getting up a little bit higher. LaPorta, and we saw this from like Twitter and day one, LaPorta shines in his route running. He's got very, very crisp routes. He's very quick and fast in a straight line, but he can change directions incredibly quickly. And because of that, he is able to create a lot more separation as a receiver, which in my personal opinion is the most important thing when it comes to sustained success in the NFL. If you are able to separate from your defender, that makes it easier. So then you don't have to worry about the offensive coordinator, the head coach. You don't have to worry about who the quarterback is, because if a guy's open in the NFL, you would hope the quarterback for that team will be able to get him the football. And in my opinion, Sam LaPorta is able to create a lot more separation than McBride does, which is really what separates him as a potential, or he is a historic rookie tight end, and what I believe to be a sign of sustainable for future success, which is why I think he should be number 1 or 2 in the Dynasty rankings, not with McBride, maybe with guys like Maybe not Travis Kelce anymore, but maybe guys like Mark Andrews or even TJ Hawkinson, you can make a pretty good argument for. Hawkinson just had an LCL, ACL rupture last week, so that's going to maybe tank his at least immediate dynasty draft stock. But anyways, I would definitely put Sam LaPorta ahead of him. Finally, Sam LaPorta checks age, 22 years old. Trey McBride, 24 years old, which is obviously valuable in dynasty because tight ends, they tend to go 32, 33 years old before they start tanking. So in your 10 years in your dynasty league, which hopefully, God willing, will last forever, and you'll pass your team on to your children. Sam LaPorta is going to be a big part of it for the foreseeable future until I'm, in my 40s. Sam LaPorta, in my opinion, will be catching footballs, barring any like massive injuries and stuff like that, which both these players, to be fair to them, have shown the ability to be durable, which is also very, very important. So that's what I think. I don't want to disparage Trey McBride because I do think he's a great, he's a good athlete, but anointing him just through 10 games as the number one dynasty asset in the tight end position, I think is a step too far to take at the moment. And from what we've seen from Sam LaPorta from literally day one against the Chiefs on opening night of this NFL season, he has been absolutely spectacular. I thought this was good timing because both guys actually had a little bit of a down week this week, so we don't have to worry about overreacting to one performance or the other. Tell me what you think, and if I had any actionable advice, I would go and share some of these Twitter posts with your league mates and be like, yo, dude, these guys believe that Trey McBride is better than Sam LaPorta. Some really reputable, reputable characters on social media, and send them these links and just be like, hey man, any interest in just trading me Sam LaPorta for Trey McBride straight up? I'm doing you a favor. Basically, you're getting a better asset according to a couple of these guys on Twitter. And I'm just like, I'm a Lions fan. Pitch it to them that way. I want to cheer for my guy. I want my guy in my team. Don't worry about why I didn't draft him in the dynasty draft. And I think what you're going to find, which is really kind of the crux of the whole situation, is that a lot of those trade offers are going to be instantly turned down because I think the fantasy community is kind of with me here that Sam LaPorta is much better of a fantasy asset at the moment versus Trey McBride. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you disagree. Tell me why you disagree. Because I would like to have a reasonable conversation with you in the comment section. I'll be definitely checking the comment section of this one. Please subscribe to the channel. We will have watch parties, live watch parties, where me and my friends have a couple of soda pops and live watch games where we do live commentary, play-by-play, provide live stats, provide basically a alternate streaming option for you if you don't like whoever the announcer is, or if you just want to have more of a silly goose time, especially if the game's bad. Our podcast tends to get a little bit better because we get a little loose when the games are bad. We also do gambling podcasts that we release every Tuesday night to try and get a hold of those early lines where we'll kind of break down, preview the upcoming week, and recommend some gambling bets. We are red hot at that aspect, so tune in for that as well. Thank you guys, and good night.